Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robin Sachs, and I work here at Mohawk Valley Community College. I am a community resource specialist here at MVCC. I work in the College Community Connection Program, or C3, and I work with students who have barriers outside of the classroom, so food insecurities, transportation issues, homelessness, and childcare, getting childcare and paying for childcare. So I work very closely with many of our students, and I've had the opportunity to work with these students today in preparing their stories for you and on their paths to their completion here at MVCC. Today we have with us Roger Rood, Tatiana Harvey, and Heather, and they're going to share their stories with us today, and we greatly appreciate and want to thank all three of them. So we'll start with Roger.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name's Roger Rood. I'm a freshman in the respiratory care program here at MV. A little about myself. I graduated from high school in 1983, and so it puts me at 53 years old. I'll be 54 in January. Went into the service. After the service, I came back home to the Mohawk Valley and started in agriculture. I come from a family farm. Parents farmed, grandparents farmed, and so I came from a farming background. When you come back here, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. I didn't want to stay on the farm, so I took a job for a major organization that sells semen and supplies to the dairymen and beef and dairy. So I was, my title was a reproductive specialist, worked in agriculture, did it for 29 years, and my left hand gave out. So I never heard of that, but my left hand failed on me. Couldn't do it any longer, so in 2016, doctor said, "You're done, you can't do it." Hand was done. I get emotional even talking about it, so I loved what I did. It was a passion, and I think anyone that's worked in agriculture with dairymen or for any degree, they're great folks, and I loved them. Anyway, I couldn't do it any longer. My dad, so when they told me I couldn't do it, didn't know really what to do. I have a great support system, wife and children, and they said, "Go to school." And what do I go to school for? I'm too old to go to school. What do I want to go to school for? So, my dad had COPD, developed farmer's lung from being on the farm, and I had asthma, so I said, you know what, respiratory care was in the back of my mind when I got out of high school, but it wasn't for me. Did the service thing, and when I got out, I'd already been married, had a child, so I got to get a job. So that's led into the 29-year career in AI. So anyway, when I couldn't, I ended my career in November 2016. My wife said, "Start school." I actually went down to VESID, which I'm not even sure what you call it. It's just VESID to me. I'm working with them, came up here in January. I immediately went to the health service desk right there and said, you know what, I'm interested in becoming a respiratory therapist. They sent me upstairs to see the director of the program was there, and spoke with her, watched a few videos on what they do, and she laid out a plan to get into the respiratory care program. And so I started on that road, and I actually started the program in this fall. So I'm on the path to becoming a respiratory therapist, I guess. So hopefully.
Hi guys, I'm Tatiana Harvey. Just a warning, I'm really nervous, like really nervous. So if my voice shakes, I'm sorry, I apologize, but we'll get through this, okay? All right, so growing up, I've always known I wanted to continue to flourish, and that for me personally was by furthering my education. College was always something I was looking forward to rather than dreading like most students fresh out of high school. Throughout high school, I've done a massive amount of research on numerous colleges ranging from private colleges to community colleges, and ultimately, nothing was off limits. However, I will say that MVCC was at the bottom of my list. Don't worry, it gets better. Until I made the life-changing decision to enroll. While enrolling, I decided to major in general studies due to the fact that originally, as stated previously, MVCC was not necessarily an option for me. I felt that being that I went to high school at Proctor, it wasn't much of an advancement. For those of you that don't know, Proctor is located right down the hill, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from, right? As of now, I am a criminal justice major looking to pursue my dreams and aspirations of becoming a lawyer. And in order to do that, I'm looking forward to transferring to UAlbany. After what I thought was disencouragement from my family, I decided to come to MVCC instead of jumping into a four-year college institution, or in my case, UAlbany. Now this disencouragement, let me tell you, coming to MVCC has to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. And now that sounds cliche, but I say that because if I had not came to 13th grade or to a community college or just right up that hill, I wouldn't have been presented with the numerous opportunities I've been fortunate enough to partake in. One of the many opportunities I received was the privilege to work at the Student Services Help Desk. The Student Services Help Desk is essentially how the campus operates. Claire Rudka, an enrollment associate, and a mother figure to many, as well as Shonda Cruz, an enrollment assistant, are the frontline, or in other words, the foundation of MVCC. Also included in what I like to call the foundation of MVCC, as previously stated, are the numerous offices surrounding the help desk located on the ground floor of Payne Hall, such as financial aid, the business office, placement testing, academic advisement, and so on. Now these are just a few of many offices that myself as well as the other workers have to incorporate into the help desk alone. Being that the help desk provides majority, if not all, information surrounding the campus as a whole alone, this had gave me an inside perspective of how the campus stays afloat. Working at the help desk has made me so appreciative and grateful for the MVCC faculty and staff and what is offered here. It is within my greatest pleasure to have had the opportunity to work with each and every one of you on the ground floor. You are each individually an inspiration as well as my safety net. On numerous occasions I was feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and discouraged, and each of you made me feel secure. As a student coming into the college, we seem to forget the numerous processes of what we have to go through in order to enroll in the first place. We sometimes take for granted the tremendous amount of support we receive as students, and I know that each and every one of you don't hear thank you enough, so thank you. On behalf of the students, even if we haven't met, you've all built this campus into what it is today, and I couldn't be more grateful for that.
Hi, my name is Heather. Is it on? Can everybody hear me okay? I guess I'm the reason that they asked you not to take any photos today. I'm a victim, or I should say I'm a survivor of stalking. And that's actually what's brought me back to school. It was at its worst about 10 years ago. And I'm sorry, I still have trouble talking about it. I was on a downward spiral at that point. I had to change jobs. I lost my home. I lost my brand new car. I had to move out of state. I moved 8 times within the first 5 years. You have no idea what an effect it can have on you. I went from making a decent pay to making about a third of what I used to make, working at dead-end jobs just to keep my head above water. And I thought that things couldn't get any worse at that point. I mean, I was just struggling just to get by, when I was one of 200 people working at a call center that were laid off. But I've always been one to believe that something good can come out of something bad. And that's what's brought me here at MVCC. I think coming back to school is really about life changes. It's not about going to school being in your 20s anymore. We see people from a variety of different lives, different paths coming back to school. And I've really been very fortunate to find my way to this school because the people here have been my support. Departments like the C3 program, Adult Learning Services, the Learning Commons with the tutors in the math lab, the completion coaches, they've all been there for me. And I don't know if I could do it if it wasn't for them, because it has been quite a struggle. Trying to go back to school full-time, not having enough money coming in, it's been pretty rough, and they've all been there for me. I started originally going back to school for accounting. I felt that it wasn't the right thing for me, so I can't say that I changed majors. I am continuing to go after the accounting degree, but my real interest is criminal justice. Career coach and other personality assessments have all said that that's just the right thing for me, and I felt it in my heart that this is really what I need to do. I'm not sure exactly what I will do with the criminal justice degree, but I know it's going to be something in the way of helping others who are victims of stalking and other types of victims as well. I think that changes need to be made to the laws and whatnot to help people in these situations. And while it has come a long way in the last 10 years, it's got a long way to go. And I thank you for listening to my story.
At this time, if we would like to open it up for questions. I don't know if anybody has any questions for our students about their stories, about different offices on campus. Sorry, Mary Rose, am I taking the microphone? Okay.
It was nice to hear all of your stories. You were courageous and inspiring. To the young lady in the middle, you mentioned that you are a criminal justice major, but you also said that you have a lifelong dream of becoming a lawyer. How did you decide to pursue criminal justice in that process?
So at first I wanted to be like a whole bunch of things, and then like I was always interested in like the law. And so, like, growing up, I've always was into, like, debates, things like that. And so, like, I've always wanted to help people. And the best way to do that for me, I feel like, is criminal justice and pursuing the career of becoming a lawyer.
The gentleman who's interested in respiratory therapy. Congratulations, you're in the program. Can you tell us what your path was like getting ready to get into that program and what your experience was? Your academic path.
Yeah. You want my academic path, you said?
Yes, when you got here, did you have to take some
I
courses
had to take everything. I'd been out of school so long, when they gave me the entrance test, this dummy's not going anywhere. So, but no, it was, I did, at this point I've done anatomy 1 and 2, chemistry 1 and 2, statistics, math, 2 Englishes.
So wondering from this, from your perspective, how did you learn what you needed to do, and what was it like to understand what was between you and actually officially starting the program?
Actually, when I met with the director, she laid out the program and said, these are the classes you need just to get into it. And she wrote it out, and I kind of thought, you know, I don't have an option. This is what I need to do. I can't sit home and do nothing. My wife goes to work every day, and it was tough emotionally, because it's hard when you're taking out of a job versus leaving a job. I was taken out of something I love, so it was very emotionally hard for me to do that. But once you started on it, I said I have to do it, and so I set my mind. But here, I'll tell you, the first day in psychology, not the first day, probably the second week in psychology class, a completion coach came in, handed out her card, and at that point I was frustrated. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm too old. I'm not going to sit in here. I'm not getting any of this. And she handed out her card and said, if anybody needs anything, stop in my office and see me. And when that class ended, I made a beeline to a room. And she has been instrumental in keeping me in school, because it's just, financially, I don't need to be in school. I just don't need to. But I was an emotional wreck, and school was just another stressor, another part of that. But she talked me off the ledge. I meet with her weekly, and I get emotional. I've cried with her. She has been instrumental in my getting to where I'm at today in this school, and just keeping me focused and on task, I guess. But with that being said, so I work with the Office of Accessibilities. Tamara over there is I can't say enough. She's been great. Rachel's my completion coach. She's been great. My advisor has been great. They're like cheerleaders for me. I wanted to fail, I'll tell you. If I bomb out of here, they won't let me. So everyone I've worked with has been outstanding. I hope I answered your question.
Anyone else, other questions?
So I think this could be for any of you who want to answer it. I'm mostly thinking of the woman on the right. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Heather, thank you. I think it's part of what we've been talking about here today, getting on your path, getting on the right path. But, what strikes me about all of you is how kind of different your stories are and the types of things that you're balancing, maybe is the right word, in addition to trying to be here as a student at Mohawk Valley. And I'm just curious if you could share a little bit about how the things that you're balancing outside of your classes and being a student here, and how that has affected your ability to get on the path.
Well, I think for me, some of the hardest things have just been basic things. Food, keeping a roof over your head, trying to figure out where money is coming from, just to handle the basics. I don't have any children, thank goodness. I think that would have made things a lot tougher. But it's, the C3 program has been a huge help in that way. I mean, it's hard to get to school sometimes, and they've even been able just to provide me bus passes. I started having some additional health problems where I now have vertigo with severe balance and vision problems, so I can't drive anymore. So, just getting back and forth has been difficult. And they have programs there that help you with a lot of these things. So, it's been a lot of just basic things that you wouldn't think would be a barrier in the way of going back to school. And for some people, it may not be. But when I had such little money coming in, and then, of course, going back to school full-time and having to work only part-time, it was a little rough.
Anyone else, other questions?
I don't really need the mic.
Okay.
It's all good. So first of all, thank you because you are the most important people in this room, right? You're the people who we're all trying to help and do a better job of helping. So we're here from all over the state, community colleges all over the state, trying to figure out how to do a better job of helping you. And here's my question for you. We're specifically here this time around talking about what we're calling onboarding, which sounds vaguely sinister to me, so I'll break it down for you. We're talking about what happens when you get interested in coming here, right? From that point of interest, all the way through when you're sitting down in that first class, and even into that second week in psychology where that completion coach changed things for you, which is an awesome story that we all needed to hear, Roger, so thank you. What were the parts of that were frustrating for you? And then if you want to, because actually I think we're most interested in what was frustrating, but if there were things that worked well, what worked well? So my question is about orientation, the application, the placement test, right? Anything that was a hoop you had to jump through to get into your first day of class. What was frustrating, and what did you think went well?
I think that I was very fortunate that I found my way into Adult Learner Services to speak with someone named Patty there as an advisor. And she pretty much helped me through the whole thing. And when I was finished in her office, she told me who to go see next. And that person told me who to go see after there. And someone helped me through the application process. And it took what was a very stressful thing and, just diminished all that stress. The first week of school, or the first couple of weeks, was just, what every other student goes through, just trying to figure out what to do, where you're supposed to be. There are no maps here anywhere. I mean, have you noticed? I mean, come on. Having something like that, just a printed map that you can carry around,
having something in the buildings that would, point you where the classes were. You spent like the first 5 minutes or so before each class running around like a crazy person trying to figure out where you're supposed to be. So, it's little things like that that are stressful that probably don't have to be.
For me personally, like I said, I was fresh out of high school, so I felt pressured to know exactly what I wanted to do. So to me, I feel like, and like my peers and like mentors, things like that, they've always told me, you have to make mistakes. You can't be like on things 100% all the time. So for me, that was frustrating because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do completely. But like I said, I switched my major to criminal justice, so that's that. And like Heather said, there's no maps. That's like, yeah. So being that I was fresh out of high school, I was a deer in the headlights like any other student coming to MVCC for the very first time. And what helped me through that, though, was the Student Services Help Desk that I mentioned. Going there, it was a one-stop shop. Like, literally, they supplied me with all the materials, anything that I needed, anything I needed to know, anywhere I needed to be. Like, they told me everything, and they helped me through it. Like I've mentioned in my little speech or whatever, Claire Redka and Shonda Cruz, my two supervisors, they're amazing. I met them when I was enrolling, and, like, I couldn't be more thankful. Like, they put me on the right path. They kept me they knew where I needed to go. Because me, coming in, I had no clue. There's no maps.
No, I don't know if I have anything to add. I got a packet when I first initially came here, and I filled it out, and went right, when I came back, I went to the help desk, young lady. When I came back from meeting with the director of the respiratory care program, like I said, she had laid out the program. These are the prerequisites that you need. And when I filled out the packet, the entrance to get into the school after the entrance exam, I came down, handed this to a young girl at the health desk, and she put all the classes in. So I'm like, man, so this is pretty simple. So and from there, I don't know. It's just everyone has bent over backwards. The completion coach I meet with her all the while. If I have any questions, boy, she knows where to direct you. And same with the Office of Accessibilities. Tamara's just been outstanding. If there's something that I don't know or need to know, they're great. Tracy Colson, my advisor, outstanding, same way. They're the three people I see or touch base with all the while. So if I have a question, it's maybe unfair to them, but that's where I go. So.
I want to add to that quickly. Career coach, that was really helpful. I took it for fun. I knew I wanted to do criminal justice, but I took it for fun, and what do you know, criminal justice came up. So that's another thing.
Well, that kind of was correct.
We have time for about one more question, if anyone has one.
I wonder what kind of relationships you guys have formed with faculty members, if any, and have they, aside from in the classroom, have they advised you or served any other roles aside from instructor in a classroom?
You know, I feel pretty close to a lot of them. Actually, my psychology teacher or instructor, professor, he left. He was here, I don't know how long he was here before me, but after that semester, he left. And I love him. I may have driven him off, but I love him. I used to go to his, and I'm older maybe, so I don't feel as uncomfortable approaching some of the instructors. I may have felt differently when I was 20, but now I just knock on the door if they're in there. He had a couch, Professor Von Strunk. And so, but I try to remember too that they're still my instructors. And so, you know, I don't want to call them or anything like that. Not that I have any numbers anyway, but so I try to keep it very professional. So if and they do too, I think, that we put up a barrier. You're still my instructor, I'm still the student. So I try to stay very professional that way. But I'll tell you, I can't say enough about anyone. They've been great with me. So any questions, any problems. And as I said, I've sat in that office more than, just, you know, since I've been here, my dad passed away, and you know, life changes. And thank God for some of the people here that you could go in and talk to. And they were there. And I have a great family network at home too. But, you know, they have struggles too. So when I got someone behind the desk that can't get away for an hour.
Yeah, just like you mentioned. The faculty and staff here have genuinely, I can say, they've been amazing. Like, they do not want you to fail. They literally want you to succeed. So, like, like, you honestly want to fail. Like, everybody has been so kind, so genuine. I can't ask for a better, like, faculty and staff. I can't ask for a better college to have been enrolled in. People who I've worked with, such as this faculty and staff, they want me to succeed. They've seen things in me that I haven't seen in myself. Like, it's unbelievable, but they're great. Everyone here is great.
Yeah, I have to say everyone here is great too. I mean, a lot of support. They're very approachable. I try to keep things on a professional level, but I have to say I have built what I would call friendships here with a lot of the faculty members. Not so much that you see them outside of school or whatnot, but that you know that you can just go in and talk to them. They're just, and you know, they're just great people. And I've noticed that about the school here is that they seem to hire people that are people, and that's very important.
Please join me in thanking these incredible students.